We've worked our whole lives, saved and invested just to achieve financial freedom, and been led to believe that instead of painting the perfect financial picture, everyone's plan is the same. But the truth is, no one is like you, and you deserve a financial strategy just as unique as you are. How do you navigate the complexities and volatility of a financial environment that just never sits still? And how do you find the guidance you need? Who do you trust with the wisdom to paint your financial masterpiece? You've arrived. This is the Wealth Council. Thanks for being with us on the Wealth Council. I'm Brad Johansson with advisors from around the country helping us out. Prashant Sabapathy from the nation's capital in Baltimore, Maryland. Out of California, Tom Mosley, and Brian Caranta out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Gentlemen, I want to talk retirement, but I want to dive down into better is better. I mean, do we do the same thing in retirement or retirement plans? That's what I want to ask. And I want to go to our senior member, Tom. As we look at better is better, and we've had a plan for a long time. I've got a guy or a gal who's given me a plan that should work, right? Did it a long time ago. Why do I need to think about better is better?
Well, some things that we do a long time ago are not as good as some of the things you can do right now because things get better. You know, I recently went with my daughter, who's a school teacher, her third year of teaching. She says, "Dad, I want a new car." So I went with her to buy the new car, and I got in the car, and there was no button to push to turn it on. I was almost lost, you know. And I mean, I know how to drive the old standard transmission on the column, but I was looking for a button. I was looking for a backup camera, and I was amazed how things have progressed since a 2002 Honda Accord and some of the cars that I'm driving now. Well, in the retirement field, it's the same way. If somebody's still using the same pattern, they're lazy, and they're still working the same pattern that an advisor gave them a decade, 2 decades ago, if they're an advisor and they're still using the same process they used a decade or 2 decades ago, there are things that are better out there that we need to be moving into. At least we need to be looking and saying, is there something better we can do?
You mean like a 60-40 split between bonds and stocks, right?
Oh,
so we're going to put a portion of your money in bonds and a portion of money in your stocks, because bonds are conservative, right? And bonds are going to be a safe place to keep your money.
This is the standard thing we've heard,
This is the standard thing you'll hear from most advisors out there. And here's the problem. Bonds can lose just as much money as stocks can, right? I mean, you go back to what was it, last year, I think, the 10-year Treasury or 20-year Treasury, TLT, was down like 20%. People who had a 20-year Treasury would have never thought their portfolio would have been down 20%. But this is the old way of doing it, and that's not better because the market is always volatile now. It goes up a lot and comes down a lot. So,
Another one is the 4% rule, right?
Yeah, that's 4%. A great point.
Advisors used to always talk about.
Explain the 4%
when you
rule.
retire, you put your portfolio into a balanced position, stocks and bonds, and you just withdraw 4% every year. You're going to be fine. Your money's going to have a great chance.
And I'm going to have like $7 million when I retire.
And so you'd have a great chance of not running out of money. And then what's happened?
Time out. We have to change the 4 to a 3.2%.
Right. Yeah.
And now we have to change the 4 to a 2.8 because, I'm sorry, reality and life came into play, and we realized it didn't work at 4%.
Exactly. So
we've heard the same things. Take me to better. What is better now?
Well, in my opinion, what better is you better guarantee a portion of your money, legitimately guarantee and ensure what most people are going to need. You got 85% of the people retiring today without pensions. Most people that walk into my office will tell me that their only guaranteed source of income is going to be Social Security. That is it.
Guaranteed?
Guaranteed.
Social Security?
Yeah. Let's hope it's guaranteed because we're going to have more problems. But for most people, that's not enough money for them to be able to live off of. So where are they going to get their money from? They're going to get it from their retirement savings. Most people are going to have to start taking withdrawals on a monthly basis out of their retirement savings. And if they use any of these strategies, the 4% rule or this diversified portfolio of bonds and stocks, everything needs to go right in order for them not to run out of money, right? Because if they're pulling money out and the market's going down, they've got a problem. In my opinion, the income annuity can do a better job in providing guaranteed income because it ensures your income even if your account balance goes to zero.
And to get better, I think it's all about having a partner that you can kind of rely on during the tough times. I mean, when things are good, you don't really need somebody, but when things are bad, like they were in 2022, and that is a scary, scary thing to go through. You want to make sure that you're partnered with someone who's looking out for your best interest, not their own best interest. And that really kind of comes in the form of creating a customized and coordinated plan. When you have that plan to fall back on during the hard times, that is ultimately what allows your retirement to be just that much better.
Well, I can announce right now that I'm a great mechanic. All I have to do is get in my little Ford, my little Toyota Tacoma pickup, and I push the button, and as long as the button works, I'm great, okay? But when the button doesn't work, I've got to hire a professional to help me, because I know nothing about fixing a car, especially the new cars that are there. And that's the trouble. A lot of people feel like, well, this retirement, it's easy. I mean, you know, my grandfather did it, and my dad did it, so I must be able to do it on my own. But it's not the same anymore, because things are different.
I've got a guy. I've got a guy. They've told me that this is the plan that I need to be in. Well, what have they given you? A portfolio that doesn't describe anything else?
Yeah, well, my question is this. If the plan doesn't work out, if you don't get the right rates of returns, who's going to pay the bills for you? Who's going to pay the mortgage for you? And here's the thing. Going back to your example of the Ford, right, and being a mechanic. Look, the mechanic's not going to tell you to keep driving the truck if it's broke, right? But the financial advisor will continue, Tom, just hang in there. It'll eventually work out, right? You remember, this is a long-term strategy. It's just a paper. The mechanic's not going to say that. The mechanic's going to say, we need to fix this, right? And better, what's gotten better is income annuities. See, most people think if you put money into an annuity, you give up control of your money. It's not the way it is anymore. You go back, you know, the old annuities were like a flip phone. Today, the new annuities are like a smartphone. And so you're dealing with a completely different financial product that can solve a lot of problems for people and provide peace of mind and security.
Well, here's another problem. A lot of times people realize they're off track. They realize there's something better that must be out there. So they go back to the same person that got them off track, that got them in the ditch, to try to get them out of the ditch and get them back on the road to success.
You know, I grew up in a family of medical professionals. Like, everybody in the family is a doctor except for me. And one thing that I was always taught growing up is that when you have a medical issue, you go and get a second opinion, especially when it's something that is serious. And your retirement is arguably one of the most serious parts of your life. Why would you not go get a second opinion to make sure that you're going to be in good shape? You do it with every other big medical decision. Why would you not do it with your most important financial decisions?
Well, I like the guy. He sends me a birthday card every year. You know.
All right, you're bringing it up because we will look at a plan that works for you to find out whether a second opinion makes things better for you. Call now. The Wealth Council continues after this.
We are in a high interest rate environment. How to use these high interest rates to your advantage. When we return, stay tuned.
Going on vacation is better with a plan than without one. Taking a test is better when studying than without studying. And teamwork is better when we share ideas together. Better is just better. And having a financial plan can create better results than without having a financial plan. With a tailored financial plan, you can be in control of decisions like how much risk you take, how to reduce fees and taxes in your accounts, how and when to maximize your Social Security choices, how to make decisions regarding legacy planning for you and your family. From building wealth to securing your family's future, having a plan is better. Embrace the power of planning with a written financial plan. Call the Wealth Council to meet with your own independent financial advisor. When it comes to your financial future, why settle for less? Choose better. It's your journey, your independence, your written financial plan. Call 844-463-3466. That's 844-463-3466.
Welcome back to the Wealth Council. I'm Brad Johansson with the advisors, Tom Mosley, California, Brian Caranta out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I want to talk about refinancing.
Well, look, I mean, a lot of people might have projections that they need their portfolio to do, right? What I mean by that is projected interest rates. So what does your portfolio need to do in order for you to successfully retire? So I always talk about the 3 rates of returns you need to know.
Okay.
One is called your spend down rate.
Wait, it includes what?
Well, your spend down rate is very simple. So most people are going to tell you when they retire that they're going to need to start withdrawing money from their retirement accounts. Okay. Well, in order to do that, what rate of return does your portfolio need to do? So if you want to take money out, let's say you want to take $30,000 out a year, okay, and you wanted to spend that money down to zero by the time you were 95, what rate of return would that portfolio need to earn in order for you to hit zero at 95? The next rate is your preservation rate. So if I want to take out $30,000 a year, how can I do that but still preserve my principal? What rate of return is that going to take? And then you have your legacy rate, which is if I want to take out $30,000 a year, but I still want my money to grow, what rate of return am I going to need for that? Most people never figure out that range that they're going to need with interest rates. So let's just say that in order for you to actually preserve your principal and take out $30,000 a year, maybe you only needed a 3% rate of return or 4% rate of return. If you needed a legacy rate, maybe you needed 5 or 6. Well, why would you consider refining your retirement? Well, most people are taking risk to try to achieve a rate of return of maybe 6 to 7% when you could go out to the marketplace today and buy a guarantee for 6% right now in very simple accounts, even like a multi-year guaranteed annuity where it actually fixes that rate for a certain period of time.
Well, and that's the thing. Once all of those interest rates go crazy, and by crazy, I mean, yes, they're up right now, but they could come down and they could be all over the place depending on where we go in the future. And that's why you need to stay on top of each of these things. What will it take me to get to zero by the time I'm 95? What will it take to preserve it? Well, when you alter those interest rates, it's important that you're working with somebody who's astute enough to go back in there and say, according to your plan, we've had to make these adjustments.
Yes.
And therefore, and I think the key thing that you hit on there, Brian, and I think it's the core. If I can get a better interest rate and I can take some of the risk out of my portfolio.
100%.
That's the people that I work with, and I'm sure the people that you work with in retirement, that's going to resonate more with you. If I can get the same kind of return right now with a lot less risk, and I can have that contentment to know that I'm not going to run out of money, that's going to give me something that I need.
This is kind of what we talked about earlier on better is better, isn't it? That we had a plan before, but maybe this time for refinancing will make it better.
Right, and people should be reviewing with their advisors right now or even get a second opinion. Here's why. Most advisors are going to recommend that you put a portion of your money in bonds, okay? Well, we have to understand bonds can go down in value just like stocks, so you can lose money. So let's say the advisor said, well, the reason I recommended the bond portion of your portfolio is I'm just trying to get maybe a 4 to 5% rate of return there in bonds. Okay, well, that's great. But the advisor's also taking risk by buying the bonds because as interest rates go up, the price of the bonds go down, the client loses money. But if that advisor was only projecting 4 to 5%, why take the risk with bonds when I could go out and buy a guaranteed account right now and get a fixed rate for a specified period of time at 5 or 6%? That's much better. That's taking risk off the table.
At this point, Tom?
I think that we should be looking for a guarantee, but some people don't look for guarantees. They have the hope strategy of retirement where let's do what we've always done for 30, 40, 50 years and do the bond stock balance back and forth, see what bonds are doing and hope that it works out. And even in the strategies, you know, it's called the Monte Carlo strategy that they look, there's a probability of success. I don't want an 81% probability of success that I'm going to be successful. I want a 100% probability of success that I'm not going to run out of money. And that's why you need to look at the rates that are out there now and the alternatives and the options. Some things that might not have been attractive a few years ago might be attractive to you now.
And I think the thing you need to ask yourself at this point in your life, when you're not working, you know, when, this is not a dress rehearsal. You don't get to go back and do it again. Retirement's a one-time thing. Would you rather have a sure thing or a maybe?
Isn't this an easy answer? Refi for you. Receive the Wealth Counsel written financial plan. Call the number below. Scan the QR code. Do it now. Find something guaranteed. The Wealth Counsel returns after this.
Up next, Stuart Willis tells a cautionary tale about fear of spending in retirement. You won't want to miss this.
Are you you preparing to make your retirement funds work for you while not taking too much risk? While there is no substitute for sitting down with an independent financial advisor, why don't you learn the strategies of investing as well? Call for your free retirement investing guide from the Wealth Council right now to learn about investment strategies that align with your goals. Call for your free retirement investing guide from the Wealth Council right now. 844-463-3466. That's 844-463-3466.
Welcome back to the Wealth Council. I'm Brad Johansson. And our spotlight today, Stuart Willis, working out of Arizona, Colorado, Nevada. It's a long way to go, and it's a long-built business. When did you start this whole thing?
Man, we've been in business for a long time here. It's our 26th year in business. Yep, the company was originally founded by a good friend of mine named Paul Mumford, who tragically died in a private plane crash. But hopefully we're making him proud and keeping on the legacy.
Oh, I know you're making him proud. You're carrying on a legacy well beyond probably what you ever thought you could do. Why has it been so successful and so rewarding for you to do what you do now?
You know, Brad, I think the real answer is that we're speaking to an audience about things that a lot of people haven't talked about. Their advisors have just ignored for years. And primarily that's taxes. So a big part of our firm really incorporates tax forward planning. And listen, I feel like for the first decade of my career, I was faking it until I owned a tax office. I delivered taxes myself, and I saw the result of real tax planning.
Is it tough to admit that you felt like you were faking it or in the wrong for a while? But you learned the lessons from what you did.
I think if you learn the lessons, and those lessons are honestly learned by visiting with clients myself. So, you know, I still visit with clients myself. It's a great time. I enjoy it quite a bit. And those experiences are really what have shaped who I am today and what our firm is. And, you know, it's interesting when I think about the importance of tax planning, I look back, I had a client a couple of years ago that'll forever be ingrained in my memory.
There are people who come through who are just imprinted.
Yeah, and I just remember I was delivering this tax return and he presented his financial statements, his IRAs, and I looked at it, and he's an 83-year-old man that was referred by 83, and I think he's now 85, just a couple of years ago, but he was referred by a great existing client of ours, and I was reviewing his returns, and I looked at his financial statement, and he had an IRA at about $3.5 million in an IRA at 83 years old. And that means he's been taking distributions for 13 years or so out of that required minimum distributions and still had $3.5 million. And my reaction was, wow, man, you must be proud. You've done a great job. And this is what changed my life. He looked at me and he said, Stuart, my wife wanted to travel the world. She wanted to go to Europe and enjoy all the work we've done. And, you know, she's now gone. She's now dead. I was so damn afraid to pay the tax bills on this IRA that we never did the things she wanted to do. And here's the point I'm making, is that people do what they were told to do. They put away their money tax deferred because that's the right thing to do. Well, that's what he did. But what people start realizing in retirement is that when they start taking money out of those IRAs, that starts making other things more taxable. And so this man said, look, I'm 83 years old. I'm too damn old to enjoy it now. What can I do? My family's gone. My wife's dead. I have no one to give my money to. What was the point of sacrificing all those years, putting this money away, the things I gave up, just because now we felt trapped in these 401ks? And that's the point. People need to have a plan. They need to think through how to diffuse that tax time bomb so they can just squeeze the nectar out of life. Enjoy the heck out of the years that you have if that's what you're looking to do.
We appreciate that you're helping people squeeze the nectar out of life. Sometimes those life-changing moments can take you in a whole different direction. Appreciate you and that story. Thanks. Appreciate you joining us on the Wealth Council, which continues after this.
It's called Social Security, but how secure is it really? How will potential solvency issues change how you plan to take it in the future? After this, stay tuned.
Think Think of how much you've saved in your 401k, 403b, or TSP retirement accounts, okay? You have that number? Great. Now, subtract 20 to 30% from that number for taxes. That's how much you actually have saved. Call the Wealth Council at 844-463-3466 right now for your free retirement tax guide. Your 2024 tax guide is free for the viewers of the Wealth Council, so call now, 844-463-3466, or scan the QR code below from your smartphone camera.
Welcome back to the Wealth Council. I'm Brad Johansson with advisors Chance Robinson, Orlando, Florida, and Prashant Sabapathy coming out of the nation's capital in Baltimore, Maryland. Gentlemen, I want to talk Social Security because there is fear. The Board of Trustees with Social Security Administration are saying that there's a possibility that we're going to run out of money for Social Security by 2032-33. Chance, if I bring that up to you, is that a definite that we have to make a plan that Social Security is going to be defunct by 32?
Well, it's a definite for sure that we have to have a plan. You know, the mantra in our industry is always plan for the worst, right? We want the prettiest picture in retirement that we can have, but we still have to plan against all of the what ifs. When we come to Social Security in general, the problem really becomes how many people really understand it, how many different ways there are to file. Most people are shocked to know there's 567 ways to file for Social Security. There's 2,728 rules about filing for Social Security, and then there's rules about those rules. Like, it's more complex than our tax code right now, but most people don't understand it and how to file correctly and to get what it is that they're actually owed. That's where the big problem really steps in.
If we are in fear that this is going to be that way, possibly the fear goes, I'm afraid, so I'm going to do nothing because the government better figure it out by 2032, right?
Yeah, that's a surefire way to end up in a pretty bad position, in my opinion, right? Like, when you construct that retirement income plan, you're looking at all of the what ifs, just like Chance is saying, right? Like, we're talking about the what ifs of what if we have high inflation, or what if we have increased market volatility, or a fluctuating interest rate environment. You have to build the what if of Social Security being reduced or not being there, or just being changed in some meaningful way. You have to build that what if into your retirement plan. You got to make sure that it works before we get to 2033 so that you're not left out there on an island with nowhere to go.
Well, there's so many people who are relying on it to be there as a consistent as it was promised, you know, when they were contributing to it through all those years. But the problem becomes, what if it's not?
Yeah.
You know, what kind of plan do I have in place if that measure does take effect? If it is reduced by 70% or something like that, what am I really going to do at that point? There's a lot of people that are relying on that and just not planned out correctly for it.
Are there advisors who are pointing some of their people to say, all right, this is going to be defunct, let's just pull you out at 62 when you're first eligible?
The unfortunate part is we don't know that for sure. And when we, you know, talk about advisors, I mean, let's, you know, I'm never one to down talk another advisor or what kind of advice they give or anything, like not knowing all of the things that they know from their perspective. But I will say this, all advice is not equal. You know, unfortunately, where do we go to get the information about Social Security right now? Most people would think the Social Security Administration. Oddly enough, Social Security Administration is prohibited from advising you on Social Security. Right. They don't want to be liable or responsible. They are there to file whatever it is that you file. They can't be liable if you got this, you know, person and they've been working there for 16 years and this person, they don't go through any formal training to become employees. They are hired as customer service reps to file whatever it is that you file.
And if you go on with them and say, I'm going to file right now, you don't get a second chance to get it back again.
No, you really can't go backwards. Like if you're 5 years into collecting and you think you made a mistake, can't really go backwards and make changes to that. So what I always say is the one thing that you can't file Social Security without is confidence. You have to have the confidence to know that you're making the right decision. I had a client come to us some time ago with this concern about Social Security insolvency, and to plan for the what if, you know, they had a couple $1 million and they said, well, what if that benefit is never there for us? What we were able to do is take a relatively small percentage of their overall portfolio and almost use it in a way to recreate that Social Security that they would have gotten. And that way, if Social Security is not there as much as they're expecting it to be. We've already planned for that by creating another source of income using like a safe annuity to do that. And, you know, kind of change their perspective on their safety with regards to their income.
You've got to understand those needs. I mean, understanding the needs of where I'm at in retirement. We know that most of us, we work and save up for retirement. And then when it gets there, what do you want to do when you first retire? You want to travel. You want to go do all those things that you've never done, that you've been saving up all this time that you're in. Right. So your first 10 years of retirement are typically your most active, right? You want to go travel to all the places you've never been, right, and all the things that you had to, that you didn't have that free time in your working years to accomplish. You do that. But as we get down that road, we have to make adjustments in those things. And especially when it comes to Social Security, I've got to be very conscious now, because if I start drawing out more money from a retirement plan or from savings, how's that going to affect my Social Security? Did I start it too early? Am I still working part-time? Like, there's so many intricate details that have to be paid attention to there.
You have to try and figure out a way to maximize your plan. We can help you do that. Call the number below, or you can scan the QR code. Receive your own Wealth Counsel Social Security Maximization Report. Now, you're going to find plenty of opinions on the right time to file for your Social Security. The truth is, your retirement plan isn't like anyone else's. So call the number below, scan the QR code, and get your Wealth Counsel Social Security Maximization Report. Do it now. The Wealth Counsel returns after this.
For your free Social Security maximization guide from the Wealth Counsel, call 844-463-3466. Taking part in getting the most from your Social Security with this guide costs you nothing. Not taking part can cost you and your spouse a lot. Discover strategies that fit your unique situation and help you make the most of every dollar. Call for your free Social Security maximization guide from the Wealth Counsel, 844-463-3466, or scan the QR code below from your smartphone camera.
So maybe after what you've heard today, you're thinking, is my Social Security secure? Do I actually need to refi my retirement? And maybe it's time to find out for yourself that better is better. The Wealth Counsel consists of advisors who for decades have been helping make retirement last for people just like you who've been wondering, can I really do this? The answer is yes. So don't waste any more time. Call us for an appointment or your personalized written financial plan. We're so glad you joined us. I'm Brad Johansson, and this is the Wealth Counsel.